En 2 ans, le monde que nous connaissions a changé de réalité. Et dans ce monde qui nous appelle à nous réinventer, un mot prend tout son sens. Transformer. Transformer nos façons de penser, de travailler, de produire ou encore de consommer. Dans ce monde, la responsabilité des entreprises est à la hauteur des défis qu'elles doivent relever, en commençant par se transformer elles-mêmes. Transformer l'expérience collaborateur, tout d'abord, pour maximiser les bénéfices d'un travail en mode hybride. Transformer l'expérience opérationnelle pour faire de l'industrie le catalyseur de biens et de services intelligents. Transformer les infrastructures pour gagner en agilité et garantir tout à la fois qualité, fiabilité, sécurité et rapidité. Transformer les données en ressources pour révolutionner la façon de décider et d'agir. Transformer, enfin, l'expérience client pour bâtir une relation plus proche et plus durable. Au-delà de ces transformations et de toutes celles que nos écosystèmes devront conduire à l'avenir, il nous incombe une autre mission. Générer de la valeur durable en redonnant du sens à nos actions et en partageant une même ambition. Celle de créer, ensemble, un impact positif pour tous.
Rebonjour à toutes et à
Hello
tous.
again to everyone and welcome. So it's less enthusiastic than this morning, but I hope you will regain your energy. We're continuing, and welcome to those joining us now, online as well, from France or elsewhere. Welcome to everyone. We are here live for this 4th edition of the OBS Business Summit, Orange Business Summit, and a rich morning we had this morning, a lot of discussions this afternoon. Also, we have a lot to do. We are here until 6 o'clock, a plenary session in the auditorium, but also talks in the garden across from the auditorium, just behind you, with our partners, 24 partners today that we'd like to thank warmly for being with us. And as this morning, the OBS experts are here present with us until this evening at your disposal, so please do not hesitate. Go and see them. You can also make an appointment via the web app. So without any further ado, I think it is time to resume and to continue our exploration of the theme that gathers us today, the positive impact. We talked about it this morning. And this afternoon, we are going to see what is the place of innovation in the sustainable value creation. So this is what we're going to see right away with my guests. I have the pleasure to welcome, first of all, Wassila Zitoune, Chief Operator at OBS. Hello, Wassila. How are you today? Very well. After lunch, I think we have an arduous mission with the energy in the room. I think things are okay. So, energy, we're going to talk about this, but not only the one in the room. We're going to talk about other kinds of energy. Just to go to the heart of the matter, report after report, the IPCC reminds us that in order to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees, there's still a lot of work to carry out to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. And these are objectives that seem difficult to achieve with the geopolitical context. There are tensions, as we see, within the energy sector on raw material. Also, there's an important inflation, and there are difficulties in supply since the pandemic. This is nothing new. And Wassila, why and how this situation has an impact and accelerates our different priorities and CSR actions at OBS. We have seen with the different companies, we always ask them more energy sobriety. So it is true, when I listen to you and with all of the constraints, the new constraints that have appeared and that occupy and keep us busy, and now for several years, we could be tempted by feeling a burden and stop doing things. And at OBS, I want to tell you, we are among the companies, the top companies that believe we have a share to play, a role to play in this collective action. And we consider that this these new constraints as an emergency and an opportunity as well. This is the first great idea, and I deeply believe that this defines us. It's in our root, our DNA, our values, our commitments as we communicate in our ecosystem. My second message is a message of the ecosystem. Our commitment, the Green Act, seen by OBS, is very inclusive, and it revolves around the ecosystem. So the idea that all of this needs to move forward because it concerns everyone, and we do it with our clients, our partners, our suppliers. And yes, the third great idea is that while we respond and supply solutions to our clients that help them optimize their energy equation, we do not forget that we ourselves are a company that is changing and transforming from the inside. We have taken commitments to be neutral in carbon by 2040 and 2050, and we need to be under 30% by 2030. As I said, the internal efficiency needs to be carried out, and also externally. But I'm going to talk about the internal efficiency. This is the theme we have today. Yes, absolutely. When we prepared this event, I remember you had said something specific. It's not so much the internet traffic, but information systems that consume a lot of energy. Yes, it is very true, and I think the director of the group has mentioned it as well. We know that when we know who we are dual, we are operators, we are integrators as well. What is high on our priorities is the network. So with this accelerated digitalization and this exponential growth of usage, there's the consumption of our networks, our data centers, infrastructures in general. What I really thought was great in the keynote, there's a lot of pragmatism. It consists in identifying the subject, our networks and data centers, measuring them, putting in place sensors to measure consumption in electricity, acting, which means by regulating temperature to have less uses of cooling systems because they are very they consume a lot of energy. So then there are LED bulbs as well that can be used, and recycling, which is very important. And this creates a virtuous circle. We see the results. Yes, we have identifying, seeing, measuring. We see very interesting results in our data centers. The engineers in the room know what I'm talking about. We can see a reduction in the short term, and also we can have more trust in our commitment and be more powerful. We can divide by 2 the energy invoice for our data centers. So beyond the internal synergies for Orange, how can you use your capacity to innovate for the transformation of your clients as well, who must reduce their carbon footprint? This is the meeting of a technology, a need, I'd like to say, and an ecosystem. So with keywords, we see that these are the stars of the star technology that contribute to the optimization of energy consumption and objects in general to make intelligent objects and data in the middle. So I'd like to rely on an example that we worked on with Laurent Giraudon in Marseille and Cisco, our partner. It's very interesting because it's a form of counterexample. You'll see that it's very simple, extremely simple, and it consists in extending the Wi-Fi network when there's no use. It's counterintuitive, in fact, because by definition, networks are built to be on, always on. And the subtlety of this technology and the complexity of this innovation means when you're on and off, you have levels of performances as if you had never shut it off. So this simplicity shows hides high complexity in the back, but it's very useful. And I must say that with the ecosystem, the partners, it's very bluffing. We have noticed that it's minus 40% of consumption. This is huge. And you'll say this is just common sense, but nevertheless, it needed to be done for our networks. And this is why you have to work together to go in this good direction, have the right approach as well. Yes, when I talk about ecosystem of partners, nothing would have been possible. This is the first key message. And the second one is that it leads to this methodology, this co-design and innovation research and collective intelligence. So this is very speaking. Incubation, yes. So this is an activity that mustn't be opposed to engineers, industrials that we are developing products with certain technologies that need a mature technology. What is true today, when we talk about incubation that exists within the teams that I work with, incubation goes through several steps, and it starts very early after the ideas. You have an intuition, you feel a need, you know different points of view, and technology can open up to different points of view as well. It is followed by a process. You put people together, and at the difference with a laboratory, we develop things in an iterative, agile way, and we validate the need in real conditions. So a partner, a client, comes to test the solution. It's test and learn. Yes, these are test and learn approaches. And I believe that what is very powerful, going back to your introduction, it changes the notion of time, the relation to time. To find a solution, sometimes we need to go wrong and make mistakes. And this method of testing and learning on this platform of collective intelligence during the incubation phase helps validate a solution. And if it is validated, if it is relevant, it answers to a need, and if it is thought in a native manner for the environment, if there are true benefits, you win a lot of time, you save time, and it means we can upscale. So that's the next step. Yes, if we look at the details concretely, what do we have in figures and numbers? You at OBS, where are you at? Where do you stand? What's your position in terms of environmental objectives and societal objectives? First, I'd like to speak about what defines us at OBS and about when we talk about value creation. This value creation is seen under 4 angles for our shareholders, our employees, the company, and our clients. This fundamental idea, I believe that is one of the strong messages during the publishing of our financial results in July last year. Because these environmental topics are also crucial, this first publishing, which commits us on transparency, our actions, with it we can say that by 2025, as we said, and 2040, a little ahead of time, we can say, so for Orange, that there are 2 strong markers, one being the decrease in energy consumption and carbon emissions. That must be by minus 30 in 2025. It's minus 14 compared to 2020. So this shows that the cursor is going in the right direction, and there's the recycling rate as well for equipments and telephones, namely that we want to be at 30% at the end of the plan. It's at 21.5% for the moment. So as I said, a real dynamics, full transparency, values that are important because we want it to be performant, and there's a lot to do still. If I well understood, Wassila, innovation without the green aspect, when we talk about sustainable growth, nothing can happen. All of this is crucial. Yes, the more I listen to what people said and the number of people convinced on stage and in the room, I really want to spend a lot of time understanding why. And it's interesting. We have these subjects at OBS, these points. It's a whole equation, as I said. You need a technology, a need, a partner, because there are things that are obvious. Technologies are going extremely fast. They are only sustainable and viable if they are open and shared by the greater number. Once this has been said, I believe that this approach that we decided to use and accelerate, it's the most pragmatic way, the most intelligent way to do things, and the most inclusive one. Another example, my neighbors at the table will recognize themselves. We talked about a different kind of innovation with a positive impact, Copernicus. If I talk about Copernicus, this concerns satellites. So it's a beautiful story with Airbus, Capgemini, and OBS put together a data bank for satellite images with a certain number of tools that are onboarded on the satellites to produce images, terrestrial images. And I'm coming back to the opening subject. All of this is put at the disposal of a number of actors in the ecosystem, and there's a startup called Diginov that precisely uses this common good in case of a catastrophe. And in France, recently, this subject is important, as we've seen with the forest fires, etc. So this ecosystem, working on a meaningful subject with an open approach and a shared one, co-designing, can really help move forward. Thank you very much, Wassila. You mentioned Michaël Trabbia, Chief Technology and Innovation Officer of the Orange Group, who wasn't able to be here. He comes back to the role of innovation at Orange and the objectives of the group. Listen to him now.
Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Je suis ravi d'être parmi vous pour cet OBS Summit pour partager quelques réflexions.
The interpreter apologizes, but there's no sound for the video
que nous avons connus cet été nous rappelle à quel point la lutte contre le réchauffement climatique doit être une priorité pour tous les acteurs de la société et particulièrement les entreprises. C'est pour cette raison qu'Orange s'est engagé à être neutre en carbone d'ici 2040, 10 ans avant les objectifs de l'accord de Paris, en réduisant drastiquement à la fois nos émissions directes et nos émissions indirectes, avec un programme ambitieux de puits carbone pour compenser nos émissions résiduelles. La situation exige une mobilisation collective sans précédent. Tout d'abord, pour réduire notre consommation d'énergie. Orange a engagé un ambitieux programme pour développer des réseaux et des data centers toujours plus efficaces. Mais au-delà de nos émissions directes, nos émissions indirectes sont responsables de 80% du total. J'en profite pour tordre le cou à une idée qu'on entend trop souvent, selon laquelle il faudrait réduire le trafic Internet pour réduire nos émissions de CO2. La réalité est que l'empreinte carbone des télécoms est essentiellement dimensionnée par l'accès, à la fois en termes de couverture des réseaux et d'équipement des clients, et non par le trafic. C'est pourquoi nous mettons un effort tout particulier pour travailler avec l'ensemble de nos partenaires à développer l'économie circulaire et l'éco-conception de nos équipements réseau et IT, ainsi que des équipements de nos clients, box, smartphone, routeur. Concrètement, cela veut dire augmenter la durée de vie, faciliter la réutilisation et prévoir le recyclage en fin de vie. Nous nous sommes fixés comme ambition d'augmenter la durée de vie des smartphones, actuellement de 3 ans, à 5 ans. Par ailleurs, nous sommes convaincus que les technologies numériques, dont l'empreinte reste modeste, même si nous devons évidemment être au rendez-vous de nos engagements, peuvent et doivent contribuer à la transition environnementale de tout le reste de l'économie. 3 exemples. En réduisant nos déplacements, notamment professionnels, grâce aux outils collaboratifs, je vois beaucoup d'entreprises en mesure de diviser concrètement par 2 leurs déplacements non opérationnels par rapport à la période pré-Covid. Deuxièmement, en optimisant les activités de production industrielle, de logistique ou encore de maintenance grâce à une combinaison de technologies telles que l'IoT, l'IA et le cloud computing ou l'edge computing. Par exemple, avec IoT Continuum, un partenariat entre Orange, Sierra Wireless, ST Microelectronics et La Croix, nous aidons les entreprises à exploiter tout le potentiel de l'IoT cellulaire en Europe et dans le monde et à faciliter le déploiement de projets préintégrés à grande échelle. Enfin, troisièmement, en améliorant drastiquement la consommation énergétique de nos bâtiments. Par exemple, avec l'offre Smart Eco Energy que nous venons de lancer, pour aider les exploitants et propriétaires de bâtiments à usage tertiaire à mettre en place une démarche d'efficacité et de performance énergétique. Orange est d'ailleurs pionnier dans la mise en place de méthodes de mesure d'impact ouvertes, transparentes et auditables et qui prennent en compte l'ensemble des effets environnementaux. Pour conclure, je dirais que nous avons souhaité orienter résolument notre capacité d'innovation vers une innovation à impact positif. Une innovation qui, bien sûr, doit être au service de nos clients pour leur simplifier la vie, les aider à gagner en efficacité, mais aussi pour répondre aux grands enjeux de société. C'est tout le travail des 8000 experts et chercheurs du groupe qui œuvrent pour concevoir une innovation performante et adaptée à vos besoins. Je vous remercie pour votre attention et je vous souhaite un excellent OBS Summit.
So thank you, Michaël Trabbia. This is exactly what we said, and Aliette mentioned it. What you do for your clients, you do at home. So it's like an open lab. You test and you try things. So we understand the importance of innovations with these objectives, these challenges, and co-design. You mentioned with Wassila, your clients, your employees, but also your partners. And if you may, it is time now to receive someone to talk about a delicate subject, agriculture. What is the place of digital innovation in this sector? Wassila, if you may, let's welcome Sébastien Picardat, CEO of Agdatahub. Hello, Sébastien. How are you today? Very well, thank you. I'm delighted to be with you. Wonderful. Welcome at the OBS Summit. We are happy to have you here to talk about Agdatahub. I didn't know about it until yesterday. I just discovered it. It's wonderful, but please share it with our audience. Agdatahub is made by farmers for farmers and in all of the affiliates and partners as Orange Business. What is Agdatahub? It's a great data hub to help circulate data among 380 farms and 80,000 users upstream. This is an initiative that was supported by the state through BPI France and an investment of the Caisse des dépôts et consignations, and also on the European level, still alongside Orange, with the Gaia X program, and lately by the European Commission that appointed us as coordinator. So this is it. And you're developing different solutions for agricultural data. Yes, exchange of data. Well, for security, we have agri-consent, exchange API Agro, and Cape Data for valuation. Please talk about this collaboration with OBS. Everything started 4 years ago with an innovation project with Orange Labs and all of the Orange teams who supported us during 4 years alongside the Orange teams, the Imprimerie Nationale, IN Group, to develop the first wallet that would collect all the digital identity for a farmer, its physical present, and it's present as a moral person, a legal person as well. So the farmer will be able to secure its access on the web, have access to different facilities, to give his agreement, personal certifications or indispensable information in his life as a farmer. We're talking about blockchain here, and the blockchain consumes a lot of energy, as we know. The blockchain it was true a while ago. Technologies integrate little by little, and when we move on from 4G to 5G, yes, it was true in the beginning, when the technology wasn't very mature, and we have made tremendous progress in terms of energy consumption. To situate the user to which you reference to, it will take maybe 2 or 3 times a year. He will emit a certificate, and his data will be stored as many times as is asked. But to give you an idea of the size, it represents like a teraoctet on the scale of a year. And with this identity passport, this digital passport, these are kilo-octets now that we talk about. So this can give you the size of the huge progress that has been achieved. And to explain this, I can say, by daring to ask, I invite you now to join our expert. He is wonderful. He is very pedagogical, welcoming on the stand of immersive technologies, Antoine Maisonneuve. I invite you to go and talk to him. It is really fascinating. I think there's a fan club in the room. I heard some people. Yes, he is a big fan club. Thank you, Wassila. So very concretely, now you talked about agri-consent. What is it used for? Concretely, we see today that we are experiencing a climate crisis, an environmental, an economic crisis, with the necessity to ensure sovereignty for food for France and Europe. And agriculture contributes to it with the carbon sequestration, and informing consumers on the best practices. Agri-consent can help secure the data of these farmers. They remain the owners of their data, and they can, if they cultivate, if they farm in the right way, if they use the right phytosanitary products, then they are able to convey this information to partners that can also help them be informed and inform consumers as well about these practices. If we take the example we're interested in on CSR, we see that for the climate law that is planned next year, in all of the products on the market, the farmer will have to provide the necessary data. Then you can work on it, optimize it, there's traceability, and in the end, there's an environmental note that will be present on all your consumer products to help you choose a local production that's organic, or be able to ensure the well-being of your family and your territory as well. So this helps measure and calculate your carbon credit, also your carbon footprint. Yes, we talked about scoring, environmental scoring, that we are developing in partnership with a food pilot, but also to be able to calculate carbon credits to participate to the evaluation of agricultural practices, carbon sequestration, and further. So there's business to do. Wassila, the digital identity, how is it important for farmers and his partners? Sébastien talked about it brilliantly, because this subject is for users. But if I was to come back on what you said precisely, there's trust that is very important in the digital transactions for users. This is the first benefit, and giving it readability, clarity, so that the person knows his data perfectly well. There's security as well that is important. And when we look at how much fraud exists in general, and stealing one's identity can be problematic. So the user experience when opening an account or the different approaches, when they're simple, it's easier. And then concerning innovation, we are putting at their disposal relevant technology that is sovereign and compliant to the future you describe when we look at this subject on the European level. Sébastien, you have an example, perhaps, to illustrate this? Maybe two, a quick one. The first, to connect on an internet website in a secured manner for a farmer without a word pass. You can have a QR code, and you can access to all of the tools for the decision-making process. And this will be soon operational. Second element, the certificate to secure sanitary products for farmers, to make sure they're good, and to show the farmer can have a certificate to show that he has been trained in a certain way. So this will be present in the blockchain, and with the QR code, the farmer can buy his phytosanitary products and in a secure manner. So what is OBS' contribution to that? Our relation, what we do, we often hear that our purpose, our raison d'être, I'll remind it, giving the keys to everyone to a digital world, a responsible one. And I think that this great example carries a lot of success recipes. What is our contribution? Facilitate sharing data. When we are operators and integrators at the same time, we use the entire chain, and this is something that defines us and has been doing so for many years, reducing drastically fraud, as we said, this fraud, litigation, and helping the greater number to use data and help them add value in their activities, and securing property rights and intellectual property rights as well. So we have realized that these will have different shapes when we talk about data and the huge use in all sectors. Thank you, Wassila. Sébastien, if I'm not wrong, you have come with a video that sums up what we just mentioned, and we are going to react right after the video. Let's take a look at it now.
Agriculture is at the heart of, or rather, digital is at the heart of agriculture and their relationship with their clients. Today, Christophe is meeting with Mathilde. She's going to present to him a new service. If he wants to use it, he needs to give his consent so that she can use his data. She needs his consent. And so this service allows this to happen. AgriConsent allows Christian to identify himself and to give consent. As all farmers, he uses phytosanitary products. To be able to buy his products, he has to show his certificate. This morning, Christophe is getting delivered the phytosanitary product that he bought. He needs to, no longer will he have to show paper documents. With the application, AgriConsent, he can just scan the QR code and show his identity, and it's much more secure. The identity of the buyer and the certificates are guaranteed. Christophe receives a mail from his cooperative asking him to send his banking information. He uses his wallet on AgriConsent and receives and sends his information. Identity theft is reduced because it is very secure. It can't be intercepted or replaced. AgriSecure makes sure, rather, it verifies the identity of the people involved in the transactions. After his long day, Christophe logs on to onto the platform, and he can administer all of his consents. He can renew them or cancel them. Everything is transparent. No more data leakage. he also has access to all of his transactions. There is more trust between the farmers and his partners. With agri-consent, keep your hand, have control over the usage of your data. So here we've seen this video. It's incredible, isn't it? Yes, it is. So what are the next steps? In France, now we're going to try and expand in Europe. And we're going to we have 10,000 farmers in Europe, and we want to get into the European Union. We're going to work on our blockchain and on the economic sector. This will allow us to develop outside of France. So here we're talking about agriculture, but could this apply to other sectors as well? Yes, it could work perhaps in the banking sector, where there's a lot of validation of identity and the transactions and the importance of security in this kind of transaction. So this could possibly have an app of this type perhaps in the future. This could also be something that's used in tourism. There's a lot of restaurants and workshops who need to use to protect their intellectual property, and so this is why the blockchain can come into effect. And they also need to protect their consent, just as farmers do. And perhaps other sectors? Yes, healthcare, transportation, to have this traceability from the farm to table, from the farm to your plate, at all moment, and available to everyone, to all the parties. Would you like to add anything? Just a word. I just want to say, for the perspectives of the blockchain, the technology that we're working with, we believe in this blockchain because we've had seen some great things happen. We're happy to be working alongside the 17 founders of Blockchain France. And this allows us to accelerate this kind of initiative. But it also allows us to have a French infrastructure for blockchain, open to businesses. And things like this can happen when there is different cases of the technology being used. As I was saying at the beginning, we don't want to choose anxiety or non-action. Seeing the complexity of the challenges, however, we've seen a positive impact in the past, in the present, and the future. This is something that defines us. It's who we are and our vision that we have about technology. Technology is only good if it allows us to bring about progress. We practice this with humility, with inclusion, and with conviction. This is what I've heard: when it's complex and when it's uncertain, the only way to get to succeed is through collaboration. And this kind of topic can really motivate all of us to work harder. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sébastien. Thank you, Wassila. Thank you very much. So, here we are at the end of this plenary session. The OBS will continue just until 6 p.m. Keep exploring, keep walking around. The talks continue with Jan, who hasn't left. She's still here. Don't miss out on these talks. Just 2 words before leaving. We have a questionnaire, a satisfaction questionnaire that will be sent out by text message. It will just take a couple seconds to reply to. I'd like to thank our sponsors, our 24 sponsors. They're on the screen behind me. Please give them a round of applause. It's thanks to these sponsors that we are able to host you here today for these roundtables and for this event. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. Don't leave. This will be going on until 6 p.m. Thank you very much.
Orange Business Services.